Today's form drawing exercise is a difficult one. It's kind of rounded on the outside and square on the inside. And it's made out of two lines. The first line we draw looks like this. We create a loop and then we come down and create another loop. And then we go diagonally from that loop down and into another loop. And then we come up and create a loop. And then we make our first rounded bit. Here we come up into our loop and then we create another loop above that and then a diagonal line up into a loop and then down into another loop, and then we create our second rounded bit. So here we have our two rounded bits, two parts of the form, and the next thing we want to do, so this is the first line, the next thing we want to do is create our second line. So here we're rounding to start with, and we're coming down into a loop and then up into a loop and then diagonally across and into a loop and then down into a loop and then out of our form and rounding back into our form with a loop, creating a loop below that and then a diagonal line up into a loop and then up into our final loop where we're meeting up with the line that we started. So here you can see the rounded bits and then the kind of square bits, and I can see that basically my square bit these loops should have sat a little bit further over here, and then it would have been more harmonious. This is a difficult form to draw freehand and you really have to practice a lot. But as per usual, you know, I would suggest that you just simply go over your form and then once you've gone over it, then you can start adjusting where you think that actually things should have been. So, you know, the first thing is to get the shape. So that's the first shape to create is the first line. And then the second shape to create, the mirroring shape, is the second thing to work on. And obviously, once you've mastered your shape and you've kind of got to where you want to be, that's when you can start working with the harmony, so that you slow down in your binds, in your loops, and then you can speed up, and then you slow down in your bind, and you speed up in the rounded bit, and then you slow down in your bind, and then, you know, so it becomes a sort of rhythmic kind of movement. And then it's the same when you're going over your second line, of course. So then you start feeling a sort of a rhythm, a sense of music almost. Now, in order to get to where you want to be with this form, I have a little tip for you. One of the tools that I want to tell you about that I sometimes use when I have to do a form drawing that's really difficult, causing me trouble, that I just can't get to work, and I practice and practice, is actually visualizing it. So, you know, what you do is you just sit down. You can do it either with a crayon in your hand, or you can just do it without doing the movement in the air in front of you. But what I suggest you do is you simply close your eyes, and then you take your crayon in your hand, if that helps you, and then you go through the motion of drawing the form that maybe is causing you trouble. And you'll know quite quickly if, you know, you're doing it right or if you're doing it wrong. Obviously, it can be difficult to see whether you're doing it wrong when you're visualizing it, but actually if you've tried working with a form and you then want to try and do it right and you just can't do it, then visualizing it, you'll find that you know when you've made a mistake when you're visualizing it as well, and maybe that way you'll also get to come to grips with it faster. Certainly I find that it's helped me, and Rudolf Steiner has also said that once we take an image in, then it works in us. And so sometimes even just working on a form, and if it doesn't work and you just can't make it right, you just can't make it harmonious, or you can't get the loops in the right place or the lines in the right place, sleeping on it and then coming back to it the next day, you might find suddenly it works, because you know it's been taken in, and your body, the various forces in you are working on that image and working to harmonize it, and suddenly you might find that next day actually it's right, it's just there. So that's a little tip that I wanted to give you in today's video. There are two ways to do help lines for this form that we're working with, and one is to draw a square and one is to draw lines for your loops. So when we want to do it with the square, we come in with our line, draw a loop, and then go down to the side of the square and draw a loop, and then we use the side of the square as the diagonal line, and then at the end of it we draw a loop, and then come out and draw a loop, and then we have our rounded bit. We go round and we draw our loop, come up and draw a loop, and then we use the side of the square to do the diagonal bit, come up into a loop, out into a loop, and then we draw our rounded bit. So then we draw a rounded bit, we go around the form, and then we draw a loop and come up into a loop, and then we use the side of the square again and come out into a loop, down into a loop, out of the form into a rounded bit, back into the form into a loop, and down into a loop, and then you use the last side of the square, come up into a loop, out into a loop, and then we meet up with the line again. So again here so you can see, you know, this rounded bit here is a bit smaller than this bit here, but we just go over that. So the main thing is you see how you can use the square bit in here to guide you round the form. And you know, you start here with the first line and you start here again with the second line. If you want to use the lines here for you can use those instead, and you can use those for the loops. So they're then, you know, going to guide where your loops are going to go, and the sides of the square inside will come naturally. So here we start off by going down into the first line to create a loop. We fall down into the second, and then we have a diagonal line down. We hit the first line with a loop, and then we cross over and do a loop on the second line. Then we come round and we come up and we hit the first line with a loop, and then we rise up into the second line with a loop, and then we have a diagonal up into the first loop, first line with a loop, and then we cross over and create a loop, and then we have our rounded bit, and it meets up with the line where we started. Then the second line, we start the same place, we create our rounded bit, we come down into a loop in the first line we hit, and then we create a loop over the second line, then a diagonal cross, down and create a loop, and then down, creating a loop, and then out of the form, rounding, come up, create a loop with the over the first line, then cross over and create a loop, and then a diagonal, and then create a loop, and up and create our final loop and meet up with our line. So these are two different ways that you can work with the creating helplines for yourself to do the loops. I'll maybe just show you what it looks like with a coloured crayon. I'll draw up the lines so you can see. So I've got the blue here, the first line that we created, and it comes down the side of the diagonal, and then it comes round, rises up into a loop, and follows the side of the, so we're following the side of the square in the middle, creating a loop and another loop, and then rounding. So that's the first line, and then the second line, I'll draw that with the orange so you can see what that looks like. Following the side again, the side of the square, down into a loop, creating a loop. As you can see, you know, I can definitely work with harmonizing my forms. And then we're meeting up again here with the line. So I hope it's kind of clear that that's what it looks like. That's all for this week's exercise. I'll be back next week with a new variation for you.